As God by creation made two of one, so again by the sacrament of marriage he makes one of two. Marriage is a sacred bond between two imperfect people made possible by a perfect God and held together with limitless love, unshakable faith, and undying devotion to one another. In this week's special feature, we pay tribute to Saint Valentine, the patron saint of love, as we present to you two inspiring couples in the most beautiful love story, his masterpiece, marriage, love that endures. Hello, with this feature, I am Tessa Habet. This feature story is brought to you by our friends at Brothers Habet Limited.
Tired of replacing light bulbs? LEDs are what you need. LEDs last up to 30,000 hours. That's 30 times longer than incandescent bulbs, and up to 8 times longer than compact fluorescents. So less changing and less trash. Planet Earth thanks you. And the LED experts at Brothers Habet and Habet will help you find the best LED solution with colors for every room and mood, starting as low as $6.95. You can even get LED strips for home, office, and industrial use. So say goodbye to fluorescent tubes forever. And because they use up to 90% less energy, you save money. Money you can spend on other things. So head to Brothers Habet or Habet today. You can also call, email, or Facebook us. Have a brilliant day.
I pray you'll be alright and watch us where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't.
Welcome to our first Agape Latte for this semester. I am extremely excited about today's Agape Latte. I have been behind this couple for several semesters now, trying to convince them to please be out here and speak to you all. When I first really saw this couple, I said, I need to hear what they had to say. It was at a party, and the music started playing, and I saw that this couple got up and they started dancing. And the way they danced and the way they moved, my jaw dropped, because I said it is the most beautiful way I have seen a couple moving together. They moved in sync. They completed each other perfectly. And so I went, I've spoken to Mrs. Zuniga about her marriage, who I found out that she's been married for 52 years. And imagine being with your best friend for 54 years. And I find this amazing. And I think Father Jeremy and I, we've had that conversation about marriage. And since it is February, the month of love, I have invited Mr. and Mrs. Philip Zuniga. Mrs. Lucy Zuniga, you know her as a former teacher here at SJC. Several of you had her in your classes. And Mr. Zuniga is a well-known attorney. And together, they're going to talk to us about their vocation of marriage, commitment, and the struggles, the challenges, but the beautiful part about it. And so we welcome them to our Agape Latte.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about us. A little bit. Philip and I met in the late 1960s. We got married a year and a half later and have been married since. I don't remember too much about the ceremony for the excitement of seeing my classmates as bridesmaids and this fine gentleman who decided to take me as his wife and share his life with me. I faintly remember the readings, the guests, the organ playing. But one thing that stuck with me was what Father William Thoreau, may he rest in peace, the officiating priest, said to me as I signed the marriage certificate. Lucy, he said, this is the last time you will be signing that last name. Those words were to have their full impact on me years into the marriage. Not then. My name changed from Lucy Alvarez to Lucy Zuniga. Imagine, from A to Z. That was the easiest change. There were many more changes to come. One major change came with the realization that becoming Zuniga meant a whole change in dynamics. Excuse me. I live now not only for myself and with myself, but with my spouse and for my spouse.
and help us to be wise in times.
Our 31-day love challenge was designed by my lovely wife. She's always doing craft and all sorts of things on her devices, and I found out that she was doing a 31-day love challenge, which is a bunch of different things that you can do as a couple each day.
What gave me insight into doing this challenge was thinking about what couples can do, what married couples can do as they come closer to Christ. And with that creative mindset and having the benefit of seeing a lot of content that's on the media, on Pinterest, and creating a challenge that would bring couples closer together, obviously with scripture, with Bible verses from both the New and Old Testament. I find that doing activities together that most couples are already doing, but making an effort and a commitment into doing these activities for the next 31 days would bring couples closer together. And it has been inspired by Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Language Tests. And we undertook that test some while ago, and we've been practicing these activities.
I will share with you 4 very, very important points about marriage. And if you can live with 1 or 2 of these, you'll have a perfect marriage. Firstly, marriage represents God's love for the church, and we are the church. Marriage was God's idea for us to share His love with first our spouse, then our children, and the world. Recall in the book of Genesis, God said, "It is not good that man should be alone. Let us make him a helpmate like himself." Thus, it was ordained by God that the man and woman come together before God to pledge their love for each other, and through this love, become co-creators with God. Firstly, keep God present in your life. So as a couple, you pray together, you worship together. Think of each other in a positive light. Give the other person the benefit of the doubt. In fact, say something positive to your spouse each day. Talk about your dreams and desires.
In talking about dreams and desires, one of the first thing I believe I made clear to Lucy when we met was that I wanted to be a lawyer. Now at that time I had no idea how I would get to university, but I had begun a law course from the University of London as its external student, and I was committed to it. So I figured if I don't get myself qualified, how will I support myself? How will I support my wife? How will I support our children? And so I figured that that was a way to go. And many people that I had spoken to about that kind of issue about educating yourself if you cannot go to a university, if you don't have it, look at me as if maybe I am getting crazy. And then I stopped talking about it. I enrolled with London University. I began studying here on my own. But one of the things that I'm happy about is that when I said this to her, she looked at me as if, well, that's the thing to do. So again, it was the beginning of being in lockstep in some of the things that we do.
Eterna stella sei.
We did the test, and he has a book that is pretty famous, 5 Love Languages, and the test is trying to figure out which one applies to you. Some people have more than one. I'm not calling any names, but like one of them, my one is physical touch, and my wife, for example, she likes quality time. She likes receiving gifts, so that's 3.
We have acts of service. We have affirmation. And the whole gist of loving your spouse is learning how to love your spouse. For instance, I can speak about my dad. My dad, I would say his love language is acts of service, because he would love a 3-course meal. But my husband, if I would prepare a 3-course meal for him, he wouldn't feel most loved. But if I affirm him, even if he spends time with the kids, even if he helps my eldest daughter with mathematics, if he, for instance, does something for us as a family, as the leader of our home, and I show him that love through affirmation, then he receives that love instead of that 3-course meal that maybe, yes, he would appreciate, but not as much as the affirmation.
Just like every child. Just like every child. Need to find a place. Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved.
Marriage is a vocation. It's a call from God to love, honor, and live in union with one person for life. Just as people are called to religious life, like Father Jeremy, like the priests and nuns and sisters, people are called to marriage.
Well, I am a committed Roman Catholic. I'm a Christian. I just can't get away from it. I mean, my formation, everything from way back in grade school was being a Roman Catholic. Of course, that too has the practice of Catholicism, as you all know, has changed. We're a lot more tolerant. I was at one point. Oh, Father Jeremy was glad to hear this. I wanted to be a priest at one point. I don't know if there was any young boy like a little boy who didn't want to be, because the priests were our role models. We go to mass and it was Latin mass. We like when they say Dominus vobiscum, that sort of thing. It sounded good. And I will tell you that part of that was I would, in my neighborhood, pretend to be a priest, and I would say mass, and I had the Latin mass completely memorized. And I would get up, and so you'd have people from my great-grandmother, my neighbors, they gather up and they would sit down, and there were those who would sing at mass, and we had like a high mass, and I am officiating in that. And then you start to realize, no, I don't know, that's what I want to do. But I'll tell you what, when I met her, I said, I'm not going to be a priest. I love her too much for that, though, so. And I still do.
Lead us to a place. Guide us with your grace. Give 'cause faith so will be saved.
Physical touch doesn't necessarily mean intimacy, physical intimacy. It could mean spending time massaging his back or rubbing his head. And there are little fun activities that's in the 31-day love challenge that speaks to all of those 5 love languages.
Marriage is a sacrament where the couple themselves are a sign of God's love, a love that produces life and contribute to family and community.
We hope it's so will find intorno e dentro sé another soul to love. Let this be our prayer.
Act of service. If some, for instance, pick up the kids after school, that would be a service wherein it's both your children, but if you do that little errand for your spouse, it means a lot. That means that he or she has the time to do something else. And so the whole gist of it is to show that love, that selfless love for your spouse. And there are fun activities.
Well, these are the cards that my wife designed. 31-day love language, and they have the different little activities. So she spoke about the do an errand for your love, and then, for example, this one is start a couple's devotional book together. And since about a few years now, my library has has gained a lot of these books. We've done this quite a bit now, but this is one of them that you could start a couple's devotional book. People might think, well, it's a devotional, so it might be kind of boring, but no, it's not. They have some interesting ones that you can really read, and they have exercises that you can do together. I know the whole idea is to create an atmosphere where you're spending time together and sharing and conversing and participating with each other. No?
Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
Marriage is a covenant, a love bond between you, your spouse, and God. Recall the covenant between Yahweh, God, with the Jewish people. It is a love bond. God would take care of them, and they would obey God, guided by the 10 Commandments. So it is with a marriage covenant. To live in accordance with this covenant is to live in correct relationship with God.
Largely, we have that same agreement as where we are to go in life. And this, honestly, might sound too good to be true, but I'm giving this to you in all honesty, that is wonderful. So I guess I was lucky, because I will tell you, as a lawyer, I have had to deal with cases of marital breakdown. People take one another to court and they're arguing with one another. And I thank God that she and I don't get into that kind of nonsense. And I call it nonsense because it doesn't really make sense. If you love somebody and there is a disagreement, you can go to somebody to get some advice. And thank God we didn't have to do too much of that.
Go on a road trip together. Well, this one is, I like this one because I can't keep still. So, so it's like serves a dual purpose. And then the children get to come out, go, especially now in these times since they've been locked up quite a bit. So we go on a road trip. So this one is not as easy because it takes some planning and there's some cost that goes along with it. But I mean, it doesn't have to be a road trip to Placencia or to San Ignacio or Corozal. It can be a road trip to the park with the kids, or to get ice cream or just a trip around the city, and the kids enjoy that.
Another one for me is flirt with each other. It is thought-provoking, yes, but if you can flirt with your boyfriend or your girlfriend before you got married, why not flirt with your own spouse? And so this is grounded with scripture. Proverbs said, gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. How often do we text our spouse? Pick up bread, pick up whatever from the grocery store, remember to buy water. But how good is it if we also flirt as well with our spouses? And if we get that, if we get it, and through flirting, for instance, in the love language of affirmation, that is satisfied as well. So the whole idea is to also show love to your spouse, and in using words, there are tremendous powers in using words. And if we use words to bless each other, to affirm each other, to tell each other of how good your spouse has been.
To a place where we'll be safe. La luce che tu dai. I pray we'll find your light. Nel cuore.
Marriage is a commitment, a lifelong commitment.
When stars go out each night, l'eterna stella sei, nella mia preghiera. Let this be our prayer. Quanta fede c'è. When shadows fill our day, lead us to a place. Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved. Sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza.
One of the other ones that we have here is reminisce on your wedding photos with a new bottle of wine. And we actually haven't done this particular thing, reminisce on your wedding photos with a new bottle of wine, though we've reminisced a lot over several bottles of wine, but not on the wedding photos. So, but the key is that we do spend time together now, which we never did before. We never did earlier on in our marriage. But since getting involved in marriage ministry and all of the preparation and this particular issue of marriage enrichment, we have spent a lot of time watching Netflix together, or a bottle of wine, or relaxing, or over a bottle of wine with each other. And I think more so probably in the stereotype, men probably enjoy and imbibe a little bit more than women. But if you can do so with friends, and that is something that's usually an issue that with men and their friends and so on. But if men can do that, then you can. One of the things that the wife, well, why can't you do it with your wife? Why can't you then also share a glass of wine with your wife, or have a drink with your wife?
And watch us where we go.
Another of the love languages that is covered here is also prayer. the purpose of prayer, and it's important as couples covered by Christ to pray together. And this is something Aldo and I do every day. And when our marriage has evolved so much so that we also pray for other people and pray for couples. So one of the challenges here is also to pray together, to write a prayer together, and to use that prayer as your own family prayer to pray constantly for your family. Another is to pray for another couple. And in also giving back to God, giving back to the community through prayer and also charity. When we're called to Christ through marriage, through this marriage ministry that Aldo and I are in, it's important that we give back. And so one of the challenges here is donate to a charity together. And when you can join in unison to a common purpose to give back, whether it might be in kind, could be in time, it could be monetary donations to the church or to a charity organization, you can come together through Christ, through your marriage, and to join in this one purpose. So when you serve the community, the gift of charity is also a gift by the Holy Spirit called to us by Corinthians. And Hebrews says, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. And so each one of these challenges are grounded by Scripture. And when you read these, you might say, well, yeah, it's COVID, we can't donate, we can't go and volunteer. But don't think about it as you have to do this challenge within the 31 days. Just think about it as an activity that you'd like to do to fulfill God's purpose. And it might not even mean that you have to donate to a charity organization. It might mean your neighbor who needs help. It might mean somebody who needs prayers in the hospital. So it's coming together as a couple to do an activity that serves God's purpose, and we can do that through action and through prayer.
Another soul to love, let this be our prayer.
All right, and
Okay.
so these are some of the ways that you can maintain the spark in your relationship. We are at the end of our sharing with you. I know it is Valentine's, and we'd like to wish you all a happy Valentine.
Okay.
La fede che hai acceso in noi, sento che ci salverà.
The aim of this is really to sort of focus a very important thing that we've learned in the marriage ministry, and that is the issue of these 5 love languages, which it's I think it's groundbreaking, this book that came about, and there's so many things that have been written. There's so many workshops and so on that have come about as a result of these 5 love languages, and there are other books that this has stirred up, and I think it's really fascinating because of how it is able to capture human nature and interaction with a spouse. Because like what Ben said in the inception, I'm not a big food guy. I don't eat a lot. I eat small portions, and I eat anything. So meaning it's not a big deal for me. Whereas, so for example, somebody who's coming from a culture where food was important to the father, might feel that is important. That's the way how that a wife would demonstrate love in that way, and can't understand why it is that it's not important for her spouse. But you know, you don't know this unless you learn about the 5 love languages, because basically it's like I'm speaking to you in Greek and you're speaking to me in German. There's not, that understanding is not there. So because you have to understand what your spouse likes. If you don't, then you'll be hitting your head against the wall. You won't understand, because we're trained to feel that others are just like us. So you think that, oh, because I like they make tortilla for me and so on. If I make tortilla for my husband and he just said, "Babe, I will eat it later," or excited that he come home and smell tortilla, that in itself could lead to conflict, will lead to another thing, and so it's very, I think it's groundbreaking, this love language thing, and we encourage people to really look into it, because it's quite beneficial to understand where you're coming, who your spouse is, and so the purpose of this is really to introduce this concept and to get people to do the quiz and to understand what each other's love language is. And then the little cards are just something that to inspire couples to do over a period of time. It's 31-day challenge, but it doesn't have to be 31 days one after the other. It could be 31 days over the course of more time. So the aim is really to introduce this concept to those who don't know it, and those who do know it, then they will appreciate even more the benefit of doing it and continuing to do an exercise like this. So I think they will do it more readily. So I think it's a good thing, and we'd encourage everybody to sign up and to embark upon this journey.
And that's our feature. Do hope you enjoyed. Special thanks to Mrs. Melissa Espat for inviting us to SJCJC's Agape Latte, and to Mr. and Mrs. Philip Zuniga and Mr. and Mrs. Aldo Salazar for inspiring us. If you would like to pick up the Full Love Challenge as a gift this Valentine, visit us at the Ave Maria bookstore located right above Pink Boutique on the Philip Golson Highway. And that's our feature. Thanks for watching. This has been a Guadalupe Media production.
For this and more feature stories, you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or view on Guadalupe Media Channel 96 on CCV or Channel 64 on CBC. You can also tune in on the radio in your car, home, or office at 101.9 FM, and please be sure to download the Guadalupe Media radio app from Google Play or the App Store. Our Blessed Mother, lead us to Jesus.